presently now, some people are saying the central bank is turning out different policies in regards to the monetary policy that are not working. So, is there any standard good practice period?
Well, I think the short answer about standard good practice is you need to be aware of what are the tools that you have and that is going to work. That's the number one. Number two is that obviously when you're saying about fine-tuning, you shouldn't be ashamed or afraid to actually make those changes. The third thing is it's not about what's working, not working, but usually it's about, so what I'm not going to prescribe is bad policy, because sometimes it's also about bad policy. And what you're talking about here, about in case of Nigeria, I assure, is they are implementing a lot of policies. And those policies are agreed policies. They have some target for doing something, right? I don't know which policy exactly you're talking about, but let's say you're money supply, etc. Money supply, when we do with the monetary sector, you're going to see this is an ongoing exercise for them. This is their bread and butter. When I show you the monetary survey, when you look at the monetary survey for Nigeria itself, the way they get it through consolidation of the commercial bank balance sheet and the central bank balance sheet, when they look at that, they are looking at how much money is normally in circulation. Obviously, what they are missing there is the informal sector, but they can make an estimate there. But usually, then they will be telling you, my goal about ensuring that inflation is low, etc. will be there. So there's not much change there. What is the change? Where it can get messy is, for example, if they contract, if monetary policy gets contracted too quickly, like in the case of what the Americans did, when the Fed did, then you will see that the Minister of Finance is not going to be very happy if, for example, you did not have any warning about it. So that's the type of thing where sometimes there is the policy overshoot itself. You wanted this, knew exactly what they wanted to do, so you go ahead. Then you didn't realize there was not going to be some uncertainty about the price of oil. So suddenly now there's a new unknown, and now you have to react. You can't keep saying that, well, I was right 5 years ago, I will be right in the next 5 years. No. How do you react to the new reality? So that's what the policy. But there's no such thing as good practice if you don't apply it. So I go back to again, it's not a policy principle. These policies, for example, you can be using each one of them at the same time. For example, you could have some nice monetary fiscal policy, but at the same time you are saying that I want to gradually create a new breed of local firms to produce for the local market. Because what are we talking about, if I'm not mistaken? We're talking about a population, it's a population size of 170 million. So that's a big market. Many countries won't have that type of market. So how can you generate enough locally to actually cater for that? And you're going to see when we do the national accounting, this in itself can be a very big boost to your GDP. You don't have to do export. A lot of countries talk about export. Of course we want to export. But the first starting point would be to produce something. So basically you're substituting what you're importing with local production. And that's a good starting point. Again, as I said, we're not here to strip the Nigerian economy completely. And that may be when we do the sectoral analysis, we can do it. But immediately you can see it makes sense. If the government comes out to say, well, we're still importing too much, I won't be surprised with the production. So when I'm talking about import substitution, I'm talking about what is happening. Is Nigeria producing enough locally, yes or no? What would you say?
No.
Is that an interpretation or is that a fact? When you say no.
It's a fact.
Based on what?
Is it a fact? There is evidence.
In fact, most of our manufacturing companies are moving away from Nigerian markets.
Based on the fact that most of what we produce is the primary product, we don't process them into the secondary product.
For 1 minute, even though you are producing, you are doing primary product. So are you producing it or are you not producing it?
What we are producing.
But what you're saying, rightly so, is that there could be better value added solution. Better or higher value added. That one I would agree. There's always opportunity to create more value added. So the primary one. But then I go back to what I said. You are saying no across the board. So no, not producing. 2, based on what? Based on interpretation or based on facts? Or based on your own analysis? Is that an analysis that brought in to say that we're not producing enough? Or is it your own perception? I just want to know, based on what? I'm not being too negative here, I hope. I'm just trying to find out.
Like rice, we import and we consume more of foreign rice than what we produce locally.
Give us a
You know, when Mr. Nasir recruited me, obviously I was expecting that I wasn't going to be talking to the people shouting in the streets, because that language is what the common people talk, because they're frustrated. We are not producing enough, we are not, taxes too high. But in your case, the reason why I'm putting the pressure on you is that always try to base yourself on the facts. And that is a small lesson, not only on what I'm talking about, is whenever you're talking to the IMF, and I'm telling you, I've seen it, when the IMF mouth shut, because the local guy, or the local group, they have the facts. They say, I am telling you what you're saying is not correct, or what you're saying needs to be looked at again. Because based on that, my construction, we have checked that, not necessarily 60%, 70% like that, but you're saying that if you go and analyze that very well, you're going to see, yes, there are opportunities, but it's wrong to say that we are not producing it. We could do better. It's always wrong to do. How can we do more? So that's why I was asking you. I was trying to pin you down.
Yeah.
Rather than just say no, yes, because that's a common man there. Because they're not analyzing. They don't have time for it anyway. Are they going to look at the GDP figure? Are they going to look at the sectoral allocation? They are not. But we are supposed to do that job. Let's try to understand it a little bit more. So when we do our sectoral analysis, also what is the realistic contribution? But then you could do another analysis to say, well, similar countries like Nigeria, let's say you are talking about rice production. Is rice production something that can become major in Nigeria? Yes or no? Okay, the demand is there, etc. So the analysis has to be done, number one. Or that resources could be spent somewhere. You know, the whole of comparative advantage. So you don't take a decision about whether you want to produce everything yourself, or maybe you produce things which will have a comparative advantage. So sometimes also not to get the danger. When I'm talking about import substituting, I'm talking about as if you replace everything. No, the whole idea of trade is the comparative advantage. If somebody is good in your neighboring country, you will never become as good as them, because they're fertile land, or maybe for rice, you need a special type of land, special, what I mean. So sometimes if you're going like you're trying to produce some form of fish, whatever, but then you have somewhere where the ocean is available, and you close to you, maybe there are some problem with oil rigging, whatever. So environment damage, whatever. So you're never going to become like that. So always economically, you have to look at what is I can do, right? So I should have said that at the beginning. Import substitution, yes, is good, but then you don't do everything yourself. But what you also don't want is that you import everything, and that's the balancing act which you need to do. So yes, I would agree with you. For example, the primary one, that's a good example. The one that you're saying on rice, I'm saying, is rice supposed to be a product that you need to produce full 100%?
Yes, because the government is saying by 2018, Nigeria will be self-sufficient
on rice. That's correct. So then that's a good policy. So how 2018? So we're talking about 2016. So in 2 years' time, you will become self-sufficient. How are we doing on that?
Well,
investing.
the total demand is 8 million tons, I think, yes, of rice per annum. And Kebbi State alone is doing 1 million tons. Then Ogun State is coming on board Abia State is coming on board, National City is coming on board, Ebonyi is coming on board. So the projection is that in 2 years' time, it will happen. Yes.
That's the type of answer. So you're looking at what are the new capacity that's coming, how much the area and the acreage of rice coming up. So you look at those facts and then you make some extrapolation. Obviously it might be plus minus, but at least the target can be met by that. That's the type of analysis that I want to do. I don't want us to say hearsay like usually you won't like it if I come and say hearsay, oh, I've read on the paper something, and they say, well, oh, is that what you have to tell me about what you read on the paper? You know, but that's not analysis. I mean, forget the paper sensationalism. Sometimes they are good. They have some good financial analysis. I remember when I was working in the PMO, one piece of money that I got a bit of trouble by spending money on that because DFIU wasn't too happy. Was to train the DG asked us to, you know, a lot of financial newspapers, the financial times, they did not know how to report on financial matters. So sometimes when you say newspaper, the quality can be improved, but they need a bit of training. So we did spend it, right? So when you're doing your partial analysis, sometimes your macroeconomic analysis can be partial. You're just focusing on one sector, on the government sector. But unfortunately, when you are analyzing the government sector, because the government sector has impact on all the other full sectors, you can't minimize your analysis only on the government sector. Are you with me? Because they are part of that circular flow, they are part of that integrated system in Nigeria. Okay? So that's one key message that will come out of it. So whatever analysis you keep doing about the government is doing well on fiscal, whatever it is, but it has to be looking at the impact, the wider impact. Is it doing, for example, a very good, what we didn't talk about, crowding out of the private sector. How many times have we seen that happen? The government is very keen in doing something for the population. But then by accident, by being over-enthusiastic, suddenly it has killed off the private sector. Why? Because it has gone into the domestic market, it has taken away all the money. So when the private sector comes now, good project, no capital, no investment. And sometimes this company cannot go abroad because they are not yet big enough to sell their skills or to showcase outside, to get somebody from outside to come. So they need that money to develop, to grow, to expand. And they don't come. So you see, so that's the type of analysis for you in the government sector. So the economy, so the circular flow of income that I'm talking about is not completely a waste of time, in case you are thinking. Obviously within that there are economic agents that carry out activities called transactions. They buy, sell goods and services. So those economic transactions, they generate goods. So you can see here already I'm talking money now. Goods flow and money flow. And that's not me talking about here. This is a standard which you know about. But like I'm saying, sometimes you have to go back to understand what you're doing. And that's why I'm taking a bit of time, if you don't mind, introducing that to you again, because you know that already. But you have to go back to basics to understand really whether those policies are working. So that you see here, the goods flow, the money flows. And obviously, the goods flow is a factor flow. Flow of factor services, people get paid for their services as wages, lead to income flow. Then there's a product flow, flow of goods and services, income or spent. Everything is straightforward. I've hesitated to even read it. These are the normal transactions that take place in the economy. Okay? But what I would highlight to you is that just remember, these are genuine. Obviously, you know the government very well, but these actors are genuinely very active in Nigeria. So whatever you do, you have to ensure that they are contributing in the district. You will not be able to increase your tax if those two are angry against you. Yes or no? If you upset them, those two, suddenly you've lost the income tax. Basically, you're not going to pay tax yourself. And obviously, you've lost the firms themselves, so, because they pay corporate tax, they pay other forms of tax. Obviously, they have, for whatever production they're doing, import duties and all this type of thing come from them. Okay? So you can see these are economic agents. So it's always good to see that. Let's allow them to do their business well, to ensure that the ease of doing business. It's not only about foreigners, it's also about the local people. Because if you can't serve the local needs, what is the chance of serving the international needs? The foreigner who's just coming. And when the foreigner talks to that local, well, you know, when somebody is coming from outside, I would think that 7 or even 8 times out of 10, they would not come and invest on their own. Very often they're going to come and look for a partner. Yes, sir? Yes. They're going to look for a partner. But they want to be confident that they're not going to get to fall in a hole because they don't understand the local culture. Number 2, they want to understand the local know-how immediately. What better way of knowing the local know-how just by doing a joint venture with a local. So can you imagine now, you've done everything possible to lure that person from outside, but then you've never given anything to the local producer, local firm. What is going to be the reaction of that local firm? It's going to be negative. So, well, don't rely on the government. It's too much red tape. You will wait forever to actually get this license. You will wait forever to get a patent for this, for that, etc. Suddenly now all your effort about road shows, one-stop shop, opening up the economy, all that goes down the drain. See? So there's a human side of it. So these are basically what I'm talking about. Obviously the foreign agent, etc. So always bear that in mind. The economic agent and obviously what they do. These agents combine to produce goods and so on. But let me move on quickly. Just few illustrations which are, I mean, it's still controversial a bit in Nigeria, is the concept of subsidies. Right? So this is a big debate, and in itself, it's an intellectual debate. When do you decide to use subsidies? When do you decide subsidies is no more required? And how do you actually prepare the population to accept the fact that henceforth subsidies may not, I say, not a will, may not be the most effective way of doing it. So that type of analysis has to be done, even if it is painful. Okay?
I think on that we should have social security. Transfer payment.
Yeah. It is there. Sure. So let's move very quickly. And obviously this one is pretty clear, the 4-sector model. So you can see here, we created the foreign sector. So now there is a bit of a competition, but also a contributor. So everything now is the same. Now you see the foreign sector coming. So they bring in, they take away your goods, they give you more goods. So which means your cake is affected by what is happening outside the country. They also have, from the foreign sector, you get remittances, like I mentioned to you. You need to look at that, whether there is something happening here. And obviously, you look at how the foreign sector is operating. Is it a sector that is becoming also now an employer of services? So that is why when you're having export-led, have you heard of that? Export-led strategy. I remember when I came in Nigeria around 2005, among the many questions they asked me at that time, they wanted to know why was Mauritius a success story. Those of you who have heard of it, it's a small success story. We can't compare Nigeria with Mauritius, small, tiny, big Nigeria. But they were very keen, and many, at that time, everywhere was going to grow us about the export processing zone. I don't know whether you heard about it. Because like Mauritius, what they did, they took the export processing zone. What is export processing zone? It's a zone whereby you produce free zone, exactly. You produce free, give them all the facility to export good quality product everywhere. So they wanted to know how this is done. But what they wanted to know in Mauritius is that Mauritius decided not to create export processing zone. They made the whole country an export processing zone. They say you can open them anywhere. You don't have to open an industrial plant somewhere here where you get all the facilities. Give the facility across the world so that you buy the labor now. You don't have to take the labor, travel 50 miles, 60 miles, no, in the labor. So they wanted to hear about it. So even in Nigeria, they asked me at that time. Obviously, I don't know what has happened, but they wanted to know it because it was a very popular model. So export can become a good sector if you know how to improve export-led strategy. Like I talk about import substitution strategy, one of your strategy could be export-led strategy. Basically, to develop, produce high-quality product for a niche market, right? Something could be part of your strategy, right? And you say, well, we are so good now in doing this particular thing, why don't we go ahead and do it properly and bring in the technical expertise. When we do the sectoral analysis, I'll come back again, industrial policy again. We'll talk about that a little bit more in the context of Nigeria, after I digest some of the documents you sent me. But I can tell you now, so you could put in place some structure that how you invite the technical know-how to help you develop the export sector. Not generally, but specialize in those areas where you have real competitive advantage and you develop it. And that's great if you're able to do it well. Because when they come with the know-how, but they also come with a market. In 1980s, 1970s, many countries, including Sri Lanka and others, they were exporting. I think Mauritius also. They even went to Hong Kong, tried to get those people to come in order to teach the local persons how to produce high quality product so that it can get accepted in the US. It can get accepted in Europe. When you go to London, you see a Marks and Spencer tie. I was surprised first time I went there, made in Mauritius and so on. And suddenly I was like, I'm not going to buy that. It's made in Mauritius. I said, well, what's wrong? I should be proud. It's coming from Mauritius. I said, no, I'm in the UK. Then I changed my mind. I said, well, this is the product. They have got the confidence to actually export it from Mauritius. Take the tie there. And obviously, you go to Mauritius, a tie costs you maybe, at that time, right? Maybe what? In Naira, I mean in dollars, let's say, maybe $3, $5, and in London, I'm paying that £25. The same one. So can you imagine how much money, if you export it, you can do? So export is a good sector. But like I said, let's leave that for when we do the sectoral base. I'm just going to show you that. I'm not going to talk about that because we're going to come back to that. So this is another way of looking at it here. Let's follow the arrow, the real sector here. So that, I'm going to use that. This is from the IMF, and I like that. I wanted to share that with you. So this is an example of the real sector. I will come back to that, so I'm not going to spend too much time on that. The real sector again, where you see all the movement in terms of goods. So why I've left it here, because I'm going to be using those variables when we do the equation, etc. The external sector, same thing. I leave it to you to look at. The government sector, and obviously this is very important. You can see here I'm still referring to the system of national account. Now let me ask a question. Every time I'm talking about the system of national account, how many of you are actually familiar with the system of national accounts? From your own background or from whatever you might have done for small, short courses, IMF courses, or maybe some regional courses. Anybody? System of national account, or maybe statistical department. Or, so you've done it, right? So from where? All right. Okay. So from there. So you have to understand the whole accounting framework, because this is an accounting framework. In fact, this is what I'm talking about, the system of national accounts. Yes. Obviously, you're going to do it. Okay. The rest of you, that you are a bit aware when I talk about the system of national accounts. A little bit. No? Oh, you're listening. All right. So then, to some extent, it's probably good because maybe at that stage you may not get a chance to go into the UN system and read about it. And trust me, if I give you the website or give you the document, it's not something that you would open to read like a fiction, because it is a heavy system of national accounts. Okay? So maybe the reason of putting it a little bit here is quite important, because at least you'll get an idea about where those aggregates that you're analyzing they come from. The system of national accounts is basically like any standards. It's a set of procedures that have been developed over time in order to enable every country in the world to compute the different accounts that make the economy. But not only that, but to give them instructions or directions or good practice in terms of what are the procedures to adopt to actually develop those accounts. Basically, the GDP and all those sorts of accounts. System of national. Why? Because if they realize that they allow every country to go ahead and compute it themselves, then you would never be able to compare one set of data with another country's set of data. Remember, in our analysis, so far we've been talking mostly about Nigeria. Apart from yesterday when we were talking about the impact of the global world with Nigeria, we have not mentioned, or maybe I have a few times mentioned, but a lot of the analysis that you may decide to do may be related to comparing why am I not doing well compared to a similar type of country. It may have happened in your case to say, well, why is Ghana doing that? Or Ghana might ask, why is Ghana doing that? Because of, and why am I not getting the same result as Nigeria? So internationally, the World Bank, the IMF, the UN, etc., they want to have a system whereby the data that is produced in Nigeria is similar to the data that is produced elsewhere. That's number one. Number two is to build the confidence of users of data that this data is not manipulated. Even today, there are doubts about the national accounting produced by China. I repeat, there are doubts about the national accounting produced by China. Why? Because people seem generally to have doubts about China. Because they say, well, maybe they are not producing their statistics in the right way. Okay? And obviously, they don't allow anybody to go and check. So that's making it more complicated. There was in Europe, some years ago, you know that country, they cheated their accounts for 4, 5, 6 years. They cheated in order to get into the European Union. And they were not found out for so many years. I'm talking about Greece. Despite the fact that there is an institution in Europe which is called Eurostat. You might have heard about them. I visited them, they are in Luxembourg. They're a very big institution. So many people working there. Yet, they were not able to determine that these countries were not giving them the right figure. It's only later than they found out that every projection, every contribution, everything was wrong. So which meant that they were not eligible to join the euro. Yet they were already in the euro. Technically they should have been kicked out. Yes, they did. But they nearly went away because of the financial crisis. They nearly went away. So to tell you, I mean, this is serious business. The computation of statistics. Sometimes I'm quite happy to see when I look at technical assistance, I find that a number of donors are giving a lot of support to improving the quality of statistics in government, in countries, not in government, in countries. And that's very good. Because it goes back to the basics. We are here talking about big thing here, doing this, doing that. Can you imagine, you realize one day that all the data that comes to you are not correct. So you are discouraged overnight. You say, oh, I'm not going to do any analysis now. Because what's the point? I'm doing analysis. Even my analysis is already difficult. Because there are so many variables like we've been saying. And suddenly now you realize that basic data on which you're going to make your assumption or not correct. Okay? So that's why collection of data that is coming to you must be very good. You agree?
Yeah.
Right. Sometimes it goes without saying, but I thought I would just mention that to you. Because you are a user of data, but just be aware that how the data is constructed, how it's produced, can be very difficult. So in the real sector, these are the type of analysis that I would like to do. So I am not
Just a question.
Yeah, sorry.
Can any other body generate this data with you? Not necessarily what you want.
Oh no, it's not the word, sorry. It's not the R, I made a mistake here. I should have said this data is generated locally. Oh, sorry. This clarification is important. I got a question here to say that why this data generated by the World Bank only. No. I should have said here, the system of national account is being produced for the governments of each individual country. They build the capacity, they give you the instruction. So it's you that produces the data. This data is not coming. The World Bank can have a say on some data. They might manipulate some data and represent it for analytical purpose. You know, they might take your budgetary framework, they might change it. You might see when we look at the Article 4, you will see that they are presenting your budgetary situation, your monetary survey in a different way. Why? Because they want to generate some ratios. But the data, the basic data, is all coming from your statistical office or other agencies that are involved in it. So they tell you that how they are being used. Okay? In case you think that this is, you want me to have some further discussion, there will be opportunity, because when we look at Nigerian data in detail, when we're analyzing, and again, subject to our discussions later, we can come back to that and see, for example, how we can, maybe if you need some more details. I won't be able to give you too much detail because of time, but we can still come back to that. Because I don't want to leave you with something, so, oh, he's done that too quickly. And that's why I didn't understand. I'm hoping that this is something you've seen before. But if you don't, then I can come back to that, subject to your demand. Okay? If you think tomorrow we need to have, before I start a new thing, you want me just to go back again, spend about 10-15 minutes about some concern, I don't mind. The whole idea is to make you comfortable with that. Because when we do analysis, you have to be comfortable with the data. If you don't understand data, I might as well tell you just forget analysis. Because then you're not analyzing anything if you don't understand what you're analyzing. That's what it is, the data. And that's the Nigerian economy to you. The Isaac groupings. Agriculture, remember yesterday I was telling you? This is how Nigeria describes agriculture. When we do our sectoral analysis, we're going to spend a bit more time about that. Not all of them, but you see, crop production, livestock, forestry, fishing, these are well-known sectors. But Nigeria thinks it should use that this way, that's how it is. Okay? If you come to mining and quarrying, you see, despite all the discussions we were talking about that the sector is pretty informal, but the GDP is able to capture quite a bit of that in terms of metal as well. Not only crude petroleum, natural gas is there, but it's also talking about the other bits that maybe you're not aware, or maybe you are only partially aware. I think Mr. Nasir was pretty much aware of what was happening. So you can see here your GDP is already reflecting that. For me, if I come tomorrow, let's say from Mars, and suddenly I've landed in Nigeria, and if I know my GDP, my national system of national account, I don't know who told that to me in Mars, but assume that I knew it there, I should be able in 1 week to take your digest of statistics and understand your economic structure. Pretty straightforward, because those are standard definitions. But it will give me very quickly, I should be able to understand your economy very well. I may not be understand the story behind it, Remember what I was telling you? Statistics don't always tell you everything. But I would be able to understand your structure, which is already a good start. Then I would have to probe a little bit more. What does that mean for the future? Having 17, there's no, don't say what it is, billion, trillion, or whatever it is. Let's say,
It's millions.
oh yeah, it is, yeah, sorry. 17.52 millions, right? Is that sufficient, right? I would not be able to know it now, but because the picture is not complete. Sorry? Are you all with me? So it's very important what I'm saying here. So I should be able to understand it. What I won't be able to understand is what is sitting behind it. So manufacturing, look at so many manufacturing. So quite a bit there. So I should be able to analyze the manufacturing sector and find out. Obviously you can see here, food, beverages, and tobacco. This is mostly local production. Yes or no? Even without knowing, yeah, this would be mostly a lot going there. But there may be some component that is maybe for the market. I don't know whether Nigeria is exporting in a neighboring country. But you can see here, your population is big enough for you to produce that level of production. Okay? And then I can see that it's going this way, etc. That's still Nigeria. You can see it goes on. This is the Isaac grouping. In case you wanted to know what is the Isaac grouping, this is the Isaac grouping. So you move on, come down, and now you can see the electricity grad stream. This is the supply, the water supply, construction sector, the trade, very important, the transportation, very important, ICT, still some very good contribution. That's also there. Recreational, I can see it's not a lot. That sector, I thought, what is it? Nollywood was generating a lot of GDP.
It's 1983.
Oh, sorry. You're very right. Well said. Congratulations. You win a chocolate, a box of chocolate. Which I haven't yet bought. Next time. Yes, so I thought, yes, that's the reason. The Nollywood wasn't there maybe at that time. Okay. So so you can see the type of question I'm asking. Not knowing very well, I should be able to expect what I'm expecting. If I know a little bit of Nigeria, I should be expecting where your center of economic activity is. So that's the way you are interpreting. When you're looking at the GDP, when you're looking at, that's the type of analysis you should be looking at. All right? Yeah. And you are already here. So for you, that should be natural. So whenever you're looking at your fiscal policy, you're looking at monetary policy, your real sector, you already should be linking it already there. That's what I expect to see. That monetary policy, that budget, it's supposed to help me do something good about my national income. You should be able to know that. When we do the sectoral policy, that's where we're going to focus, about how to make that contribution. If we have decided to make the ICT contribution big, how can I move from, obviously this is 1981, 82, but whatever it is in 2016, how do I move that? How can I have a very good policy to boost it up? That should be part of my strategy. And then I analyze it, and then I say, no, maybe we could do more in order to boost this economy, this sector. All right? So real estate, professional, scientific, etc., etc. And you can see public administration is there, obviously, education, health sector, other services. And then you see your GDP at current prices, at current market prices. So is that the net direct of taxes, etc., etc., etc. Let's take a breather. What have we done so far? I don't want us to introduce some new concepts and then I'll see if I'm talking to myself now. How is your digestive power? Still good? Are you still able to digest more? Well, what we've done is not a lot, but it's just that it appears to be a bit heavy. You know, those three methods. Unfortunately, I can't simplify it. I'm trying to think about how I could simplify it. There's no other way. Huh? It's okay. All right. So obviously the GDP was one measure. So, and that's what you ultimately have to use in Nigeria when it comes to your macro, your real sector. There are other measures of national besides GDP. GDP measures what residents working together, working locally has produced. But then it ignores what comes from abroad. So here what you see, the GNI, this is the concept we use more or less. We use gross national income. You will see that in the job, we always use the gross national income. It is the normal GDP plus net income from abroad. Okay? Simple. Nothing complicated here. It's just the net income from abroad. You getting that? That's pretty straightforward. That's labor income of migrant and seasonal workers, rental income and royalties. That is those types of income coming from abroad, from residents who are gone to earn those income from abroad. So that's the whole concept. And again, I don't have any formula to give you in terms of what you use. You would use what you find very useful for you to use. If you're comfortable with your GDP, because maybe that net factor income is minimal, then you don't use it. But if you find that, for example, the net factor income from abroad is gradually getting bigger and bigger, then you could use it just to make a point that maybe you should encourage more of that type of transactions, right? Because maybe it's becoming very big. So why not? Why not? The government would be happy to be able to get some extra income from abroad. Or you can get transfers from abroad. So that's what it is. So let me quickly give you that illustration. We can come back there tomorrow if you digest it and you don't understand it. But this is basically some series, again, which I've just given you here, in terms of your GDP nominal and how do you create a deflator, your index, and how the GDP growth rate is created. The real GDP, the nominal GDP. You can see here, very quickly, if you are doing your analysis, for 1 minute, if you can just look at that. Look at that. I come to you tomorrow, or the minister stand and say, well, we've done very well over the last 5 years. Our GDP has been growing by 20%, 16%, 17%, 19%. Everybody's going to stop talking and say, that's brilliant. But that's, unfortunately, nominal. So there is a price element there, which is not really a good sign. So that is why we come back to the real, which is the GDP at constant prices. And when we always use GDP at constant prices, you always look what is the base. Because the index is somewhere. What is the base here? The whole base. 1980, 1981 is equal to 100. All index start with, index indices start with 100. So that's what you do. And if you're rebasing, like in the case, excuse me, in the case of Nigeria, you've already completed, right? Rebasing. When you rebase, then you bring it a new base. So here you can see here, the base has changed from 1980, 1981 to 1993. So that becomes the 100. Okay? And then sometimes in many countries, they can even rebase backward. So that becomes an arithmetic, a statistical formula. You just move it backward if you want. But mostly it's about starting to recompute. So this is what I use, and this is what you use, and this is what the minister used. This is what the central bank used. Everybody used to determine whether the economy is growing good or not. And normally you will analyze them. You can see there is no pattern here, but you could already assume that this was a pretty good year. Here, you should be able to know why it was a good year. then it was not such a good year here. Then suddenly, from that not such a good year, it was still good. 7.3, maybe an exceptional year. Then 5.8, and suddenly it went down to 2.6%. So you should be able to understand it. Was it a one-off situation? I can't say it here because it's a total, right? But when you go and look at your income method, expenditure method, GDP by sectors, understand your economy because you are from Nigeria, you should be able to now explain that 2.6%. What you don't want is that there are structural factors now making that economy become difficult to grow. Or maybe you've lost that pace of growth has disappeared. So maybe there's something else that needs to be done. Maybe those sectors where you were relying a lot is no more growing. Again, without jumping to conclusion, one could just say, well, maybe the oil sector is no more contributing as heftily as it used to be. This is not your figure, by the way. Right? This is something outside. But I'm just talking generally. That's the type of analysis you should be doing. If you see there's a pattern there, and that's where now you should always, parliamentarians, you should recommend this diversification policy. Should be should be supported, should be re-emphasized in terms of making it happen. Because you can see now, without doing, we don't have any other chance. Our main sectors are not growing, so we have to get back to basics in order to diversify. You know? So that's the type of analysis. And when people, I mean, your own ministers and your parliamentarians are going to say, well, I can say that. And especially if it affects their own local sectors, because you're talking about how that growth can be generated at the state level, you know. Then that becomes real, genuine policy. All right? And finally, I think there are a few about inflation. I just wanted to leave that with you. We have spoken, I think, enough about the inflation, but here it's just about one slide or a couple of slides just to give you. So how is your CPI, sorry, I already said it. How is your inflation calculated in Nigeria? How is your inflation calculated? Or which measure do you use for measuring? Which index do you use for measuring inflation by Nigeria?
Consumer price index.
No?
Consumer price index.
Everybody agrees with that?
Yeah.
So yes, it is a price index, but which price index? Because you have wholesale price index, you have consumer price index. And usually it's mostly consumer price index, CPI. Right? And I'm assuming you know how it is computed.
No.
Well, without knowing necessarily how it works, what you're seeing here is one bullet point here. It's talking about, on the other side, on the right, it measures the price of a representative basket of goods and services that are bought by the average consumer. So you look at the word there, average consumer. They don't check what every consumer. This is impossible. How many consumers are there? You just heard about 183 million. So they're all consumers. Well, except when they are not able to, well, I think they're all consumers. Because even the babies consume baby food. So they're all consumers. So it's very difficult. So what they do that, they set up a representative set basket of products, a representative which reflects the consumption pattern of the average consumer. And that basket of goods remain fixed for a while, so long that it is valid. So I can safely say that in the case of Nigeria, your CPI, for example, 10 years, 15 years ago, would have had things like for entertainment, they would have put the radio cassette as an item there. How much money is spent in buying radio cassette? But if you go in the CPI today, they would have removed the radio cassette. Why? Because nobody's using that. You're using CDs. And I'm going to tell you that I won't even be surprised that sometimes the CD itself, if the people are stopped listening to CDs, they're using MP3 now, they will stop, they take this out also. So video, VHS, out. So that is the easiest one for me to explain. So going back to your expenditure pattern, so that's what they look at. Your representative basket of goods, they look at exactly what you're spending it on. So if, for example, your staple food happened to be rice, so rice will be there. If you're using some your local what I call the ugali, what is that? White. Maize flour. Yes. So that's this thing. So they will put it there. So a number of factors that are used are there. So they will have about 700-800 categories maybe, right? Goods which they put. And they have people going around the town, going around the town, in the markets, going and questioning, and just, yes, everywhere. So going there and checking, and then they have their own formula about how to weigh it. The thing about statistics is you weigh it. You know, weight. You give a weight. Yeah. So otherwise you're not adding what is happening in Lagos with what is happening in a small. Yeah, exactly. Or Etiki. Is it Etiki? It's small, no? I've been there, so sometimes. When I go to Etiki or Katse, yeah, this place is. You can't compare those two, so you have to give a weight to it, you know. So then they calculate it, and then they tell you this is that becomes your CPI, and then the rate of increase, the inflation is exactly that. Rate of inflation is your price index number at the point minus the price at another point. You divide it at that point, and you get it. So this example, 207 minus 182 divided by 182 multiplied by 100 is 30. So the inflation, the rate of inflation is always a percentage, but the index is a number. 100, 110, 115, 181, 181. And the index also sometimes can be rebased. They can change the base from 100. So CPI 1982 or 1998. So that's what they do. So for you, you're not so much interested in how they compute it, but you want to look at inflation with the others. So two measures of prices that I've given you today. One is the GDP deflator, which I showed you here, which is to make GDP at constant prices, but also the normal inflation which people complain about, price is rising too quickly in the economy, that's inflation, right? So you look at that inflation, going up, going